My sister slept with my husband on our bed, and I walked in on them. But that wasn't the worst part. The worst part was waiting months to get my revenge on her wedding day. Please stay with me as I tell you my story, and please don't forget to support our channel by subscribing, liking, and sharing with your loved ones. I thought I had a good life, a loving husband, a close family, and my sister, Jenna, was like my best friend. She was younger than me by a few years, full of energy and always around. We laughed a lot, shared secrets, and I trusted her completely. Looking back now, I realize how blind I was. That night, everything changed. My office meeting was cancelled last minute, so I drove home earlier than planned. I didn't text or call. Why would I? It was just a normal evening, or so I thought. The house was quiet when I came in. I left my bag on the counter, slipped off my shoes, and went up to our bedroom. I opened the door without thinking. What I saw stopped everything. My husband was in bed, with Jenna, my baby sister, on our bed. They didn't see me. They were too wrapped up in each other. I stood there for a few seconds, not moving, not breathing. I felt like my body had turned to stone. My heart wasn't just broken, it vanished. I slowly closed the door. No noise, no scream. I walked out of the house like a ghost. I didn't go back that night. I drove until I didn't recognize the streets anymore. My phone buzzed a few times. I didn't look at it. I didn't cry. I didn't feel anything. I found a motel, paid in cash, and stayed awake all night staring at the ceiling. That was the night I decided I wouldn't confront them. Not yet. I wasn't going to give them the drama they wanted. I wasn't going to cry in front of them. I wasn't going to ask why. I would smile. I would act like nothing happened, and I would wait. You see, Jenna was engaged. Her wedding was a few months away. I promised myself I'd be there for it. Front row, smiling, helpful. But on that day, she would feel everything I felt that night. She just didn't know it yet. People used to say Michael and I were the perfect couple. He had a calm way of speaking that made everyone feel safe. I was the planner, always keeping things together. We fit, or at least that's what it looked like. My sister Jenna visited often. She was always around, staying the night, eating with us, laughing at our jokes. I never questioned it. Why would I? For a while, everything seemed normal, until I started looking back. There were moments I missed before. Michael would glance at Jenna in a way that didn't feel right, but I brushed it off. I told myself I was tired, overthinking. Sometimes, he'd be gone longer than usual when he said he was running errands. Jenna would disappear too, saying she was visiting a friend or going for a drive to clear her head. Their stories never clashed, but something about the timing did. I didn't see it then. I didn't want to. One afternoon, I found a receipt in Michael's coat pocket, a hotel I didn't recognize. I stared at it for a long time. I wanted to believe it was work-related, but his job didn't involve travel. I put the receipt back where I found it and said nothing. When we sat at dinner, I noticed how quiet I'd become. I no longer asked where he'd been or what he was thinking. I didn't care to hear the lie. I kept my face still, made meals, smiled when needed. It was like watching someone else live my life. I didn't feel angry, just hollow. Jenna never acted like anything was wrong. She'd still send me pictures of dresses, memes, little notes saying how lucky I was to have someone like Michael. It was like she was mocking me, and I didn't know whether she meant to or not. I stopped answering most of her messages, but in person, I kept my act clean, always polite, always quiet. Then, she called me one evening, voice full of excitement. She was engaged. A man named Daniel had proposed. I'd met him once before. He was the kind of guy you instantly liked. Honest, gentle, kind. He adored Jenna. She went on and on about the ring, the flowers, the date they had in mind. She asked if I would help plan it. Of course I said yes. I sat in the same chair where Michael and I had opened our wedding gifts. I stared at my phone screen, listening to Jenna describe her perfect future. She didn't hesitate. She didn't choke on the lie. She was glowing. I smiled into the phone and told her I was happy for her, that it would be the most beautiful wedding ever. She believed every word. So did Michael. Neither of them noticed the change in my voice. Maybe they thought they'd won, or maybe they just never thought I'd do anything at all. I became the perfect helper, the excited sister, the one who remembered Jenna's favorite flowers, her dream color palette, the kind of cake she once described years ago. I offered to take the stress off her shoulders. I told her I'd handle as much as I could. She smiled so wide, hugged me so tight. She had no idea what I was really doing. When she asked me to be her maid of honor, I accepted with open arms. The whole family was touched. Her fiancé, Daniel, thanked me for stepping up. He said Jenna was lucky to have someone like me. I smiled and nodded. I said it was my pleasure. But every yes was a lie. Every smile was a mask. While I picked out bridesmaid dresses and helped write vows, I was also digging. I searched through old text messages when Michael left his phone unattended. I found conversations that went back months. Names, dates, little code words they thought were clever. I took screenshots of everything. I saved every message, every call log. Sometimes Jenna would drop hints she didn't even realize. She once said she wasn't sure she was ready to settle down, that she still thought about someone else when she closed her eyes. I asked who, pretending to joke. She didn't answer. She just looked at me and smiled. Later, I asked her again, lightly, like a sister would. We were sitting at a nail salon, surrounded by laughter and music. She leaned closer and whispered, "Don't tell anyone, but sometimes I still fantasize about Michael." Then she laughed like it was nothing, like it was normal. I laughed with her. Then I asked the technician to redo my polish, just so I could stay longer and record what she said. I started keeping everything in one place, a folder hidden deep inside an encrypted drive. I called it TRUTH. Inside were screenshots of their messages, pictures of receipts, time-stamped photos, even audio clips from my phone's recorder. I made sure every piece had context, a name, a date. I wasn't going to leave any room for doubt. At night, I would open the folder and stare at it. I didn't cry. I didn't get angry. I just stared. Each file was a piece of the puzzle, slowly forming something sharp and cold. I wasn't rushing. I wanted it to be perfect, clean, unquestionable. They kept lying. They kept laughing. Jenna thanked me again and again for all my help. She called me her anchor, her safe space, her favorite person in the world. She had no idea I was building something behind that calm voice, something that wouldn't just ruin her day, but tear her world apart in front of everyone she loved. Daniel was different. He didn't talk much, but when he did, it was thoughtful. He listened, remembered small things, and always treated Jenna with care. He looked at her like she was the only one in the room. I watched them sometimes, wondering if he saw what I saw, but he never gave any sign that he knew. I kept asking myself the same question. Should I tell him? It wasn't an easy choice. If I said something, it could destroy him. But if I stayed silent, he'd walk into something he didn't deserve. I didn't want to be the one to hurt him, but I knew the truth would hurt more if it came later. One night, I made my decision. I took everything I had collected, messages, pictures, voice clips, and zipped it into one folder. I didn't sign my name. I created a new email, something random, untraceable, and sent it to him. No message, just the files. After that, I waited. Days passed, then weeks. Nothing changed. No cancelled plans. No drama. Jenna kept talking about the guest list, the seating chart, honeymoon options. Daniel looked the same, calm, happy, planning his future like it was secure. I started to doubt myself. Maybe he hadn't seen the email. Maybe it went to spam. Or maybe he had seen it and decided to ignore it. That thought haunted me more than anything. What if he already knew and didn't care? Or worse, what if he was part of it somehow? I watched them closely at every event, every meeting. Daniel held her hand, laughed at her jokes, helped her zip up sample dresses. He didn't flinch when she mentioned Michael. He didn't seem suspicious. There was no anger, no coldness, just the same steady smile. I felt like I was losing control. I had dropped a bomb, but it made no sound. It was like screaming into a void. I couldn't ask if he got the files. That would blow everything. I couldn't send them again. He might get suspicious. I had no idea what was going on inside his head. Part of me hoped he was just playing along, waiting like I was. But another part feared something else entirely. What if he thought I was lying? What if he believed her version of the story before he ever questioned the evidence? Still, I said nothing. I didn't push. I kept pretending. Whatever game Daniel was playing, I had to keep mine going too. Because if he had seen the truth and stayed, that meant I wasn't just fighting betrayal from two people. It meant there were three. The night before the wedding was full of lights, music, and fake smiles. The rehearsal dinner was held at a small garden venue, with fairy lights strung through the trees, and long tables covered in white linen. Everyone looked happy. Everyone except me. Jenna stood up to give a speech. She held her glass and thanked everyone for being part of her journey. Then she started talking about love, about trust, about finding your forever person. Her voice didn't shake. Her eyes didn't flinch. She said things like loyalty is everything, and honesty builds the strongest marriage. People clapped. I didn't move. I forced a smile and felt something sour rise in my chest. The words came out of her mouth so easily, like they actually meant something. I excused myself after dinner and stayed close to the edge of the party. I watched people laugh, toast, dance. Jenna was glowing. Michael stood on the other side of the crowd, talking with a few relatives. I noticed they hadn't made eye contact all evening, almost like they were being careful. Later that night, most guests had left. The music faded. Only a few family members remained, helping clean up. I saw Jenna slip away from the group, her movements quiet but purposeful. She didn't take her phone or say goodbye to anyone. She just walked toward the side of the venue where the trees thickened and the lights thinned. I followed. She moved quickly but didn't look back. I stayed just far enough behind, my footsteps silent, heart pounding. She disappeared behind a hedge and into a darker spot near the edge of the property. I stopped, waited, then stepped around the corner. Michael was already there. They didn't speak at first. He just took her hands and pulled her in. Their bodies pressed together like it was the most natural thing in the world. His hand slid up her back. Her lips met his. It was soft, familiar, like they'd done it 100 times. I stayed hidden and pulled out my phone. I didn't rush. I made sure I captured everything, the way they held each other, the way they kissed like no one else existed. I zoomed in, caught their faces, time-stamped it. Then I backed away and left before they saw me. My hands shook, but not from shock. I wasn't surprised anymore. I'd already stopped hoping it would end. I'd already stopped waiting for guilt to catch up to them. This wasn't just another secret moment. This was the night before her wedding, the final proof that she didn't care who got hurt, that he didn't either. I walked back to the venue slowly, the voices of the remaining guests sounding distant now. Inside, I was quiet, calm, almost numb. But something had changed. Watching them like that didn't just hurt. It cleared my mind. It sharpened something in me. Now I knew exactly what I had to do. The morning of the wedding came quietly. The sun was soft, the sky clear, and everyone was moving around with excitement. The bridal suite was full of flowers, makeup brushes, laughter. Jenna stood in the center of it all, getting her hair fixed, wearing a silky robe, acting like the happiest bride alive. I kept my role, smiling when needed, holding her veil, helping with her shoes. No one suspected anything. I had one job left. While everyone was distracted with photos and final touches, I reached for the wedding dress. It hung on a tall hook, delicate lace falling in soft waves. I stepped close, careful, and slipped the small USB drive into the pocket, hidden on the inside seam. It wasn't just a folder of files. Every message had a name. Every photo had a date. Every clip had a voice. I had labeled it all clearly. You should know. My plan was simple. She'd find it later. Maybe that night. Maybe on the honeymoon. She'd be alone, curious, maybe thinking about me, and she'd find the truth waiting for her. It wasn't about shouting or screaming. It was about letting the truth speak for itself. The makeup artist called her over. She walked right past me, laughing about her bouquet. She had no idea. But then something changed. Just before the ceremony, as the music started and guests began taking their seats, Jenna pulled me aside. Her smile was tight, eyes colder than I'd ever seen them. She leaned close and whispered, "I know what you did." I didn't blink. She looked straight at me like she was expecting me to fall apart, like she thought I'd panic or beg or explain myself. I didn't say anything. She didn't know what I had placed in her dress. She didn't know how much I had seen or saved. Maybe she thought I just told someone a rumor. Maybe she thought I'd said something to Daniel or tried to stop the wedding with words. But she didn't know the full story. Not yet. A voice outside called, "We're ready!" She smiled again, wide and fake. "Let's not ruin the day," she said sweetly. Then she walked away, holding her dress like it was something sacred. I followed a few steps behind, calm, steady, quiet. She thought she was still in control. She thought she had won. But the truth was already sewn into her day, tucked against her side, waiting to be found. And when it was, it wouldn't whisper. It would burn. The ceremony started right on time. Everyone stood as Jenna walked down the aisle, her dress glowing in the soft afternoon light. She looked beautiful, but her steps were slower than usual. Her smile didn't quite reach her eyes. I saw her hands shaking slightly as she held the bouquet. Daniel stood waiting, calm as always. He gave her a gentle smile when she reached him, and for a moment, everything seemed like any other wedding. The guests sat down, the music faded, and the officiant began. The words were familiar, promises of love, trust, forever. Jenna repeated her vows with a small tremble in her voice. Daniel's voice was steady, almost too steady. He looked at her with quiet focus, like he was watching something no one else could see. When the moment came, the officiant smiled and said, "You may now kiss the bride." Daniel leaned in, but instead of kissing her, he whispered something in her ear, just a few quiet words. Then he pulled back, turned around, and walked away. There was silence at first, then whispers, then gasps. Jenna stood frozen, eyes wide, bouquet slipping from her hands. She looked around in a panic, trying to find someone, trying to understand what had just happened. "Michael!" she called out, her voice rising, but there was no answer. He wasn't there. The guests started talking louder. Some stood, confused. Others looked at each other, unsure of what they had just witnessed. Jenna ran down the aisle, still calling for him. Her face had gone pale, her dress catching on the grass. People tried to stop her, but she pushed past them, desperate, eyes darting through the crowd. I didn't move. I stood exactly where I was, watching everything unfold. My hands were steady, my face calm. I didn't speak. I didn't smile. I just watched. Because this wasn't an accident. This wasn't a mistake. This was the moment the truth finally touched the light, and there was no going back. People were still standing, whispering, turning in their seats. Some guests had their phones out, confused, trying to figure out what had just happened. Jenna was nowhere in sight. Daniel was gone. I stepped forward. No one stopped me as I walked up to the microphone. The officiant moved aside, unsure of what to do. The mic gave a soft crackle as I turned to face the crowd. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't cry. I simply spoke. "I know many of you are confused," I began. "You're wondering why the groom left. You're wondering where the bride went. Let me explain." The garden fell silent. I've known for a while that my husband, Michael, and Jenna, my sister, have been having an affair. A few people gasped. Someone dropped a glass. But I didn't stop. I've collected proof, messages, photos, recordings, dates, times. Everything is saved. Everything is real. I sent it to Daniel weeks ago. He didn't say a word. Until now. Phones started rising into the air. Guests began recording. Faces filled with shock. Some covered their mouths. Others shook their heads in disbelief. I gave them the details, clear and simple. No emotion, no drama. Just facts. Just the truth. Halfway through, I saw movement at the edge of the crowd. Michael stumbled in, shirt wrinkled, eyes glassy. He smelled like alcohol from feet away. He pointed at me and slurred, "She's lying. She's making this up." But no one believed him. Not after everything. Someone shouted, "We saw the messages." Another person said, "Check your phones. It's already online." Michael looked around, confused, lost. The truth was spreading faster than he could speak. Jenna appeared again, dress dragging behind her, makeup smudged, eyes red. She looked at me, then at Michael, then at the crowd. Her legs wobbled, and someone reached out to hold her up. She tried to speak, but no words came. She turned in circles, searching for Daniel. He never returned. I didn't stay much longer. I stepped away from the mic, walked past the staring faces, and out of the garden. The sun was still shining. The air was warm. But everything had changed, and I didn't look back. The days after the wedding were quiet. No calls, no visits, just silence. I filed for divorce the following week. There were no arguments. Michael didn't fight it. He moved out with nothing but a suitcase. The house was mine. The car too. His name disappeared from the papers as fast as I could sign them. People began to talk. Word spread quickly. His job found out. Friends dropped him. The respect he once had was gone. He stopped showing up in public. I heard he was staying with a friend, but I didn't ask who. Jenna didn't return home either. She packed what she could and left town. No goodbye, no message. Most of our family cut her off. A few tried to speak with her at first, but it didn't last. She didn't apologize. She never explained. She just vanished. Then one day, a small letter came in the mail. It had no return address. Inside was a short note. It was from Daniel. He didn't say much, just that he was doing better, that he was thankful for the truth, that the truth had set him free. He said he had started over somewhere new, and was at peace now. He wished me well. I kept that note in a drawer. I started therapy a few weeks later. I wasn't sure it would help at first, but it did. Bit by bit, I began to understand myself again. The pain didn't leave overnight, but it changed. It became quieter, lighter. I stopped checking my phone for old messages. I stopped wondering what Jenna or Michael were doing. I stopped trying to understand why they did what they did. I changed my number. I deleted old photos. I painted the walls a new color. I bought new sheets. I went on long walks. I made coffee slowly. I sat with silence and didn't feel lonely. Each small step was mine. And for the first time in a long time, my life felt like it belonged to me again. I sat at the small table by the window, the same spot I used to like before everything changed. The smell of fresh coffee filled the air, and outside, the world moved as if nothing had ever happened. I opened my laptop and started typing. No plans, no outline, just the truth. I didn't feel sad. I didn't feel angry. I felt clear. Everything I had kept inside was now coming out, and it felt right. I had waited, I had watched, and I had let the truth show itself. I had no regret. People think silence is weakness. It's not. Silence is a choice, a kind of power. When you know something deep inside and wait for the right time, it can change everything. As I typed the last word, I closed my laptop and looked around. The noise of cups, soft voices, and footsteps filled the space. It felt peaceful. I hadn't felt that in a long time. A man sitting a few tables away looked at me and gave a quiet smile. I smiled back. It didn't mean anything, or maybe it did. Maybe this was the start of something new. I didn't know, and for once, I didn't need to. The past was over. What mattered now was that I had faced it. I had spoken without raising my voice. I had walked through the storm without shouting, and I had come out still standing. Never underestimate a woman who knows the truth and waits. Do you think I did the right thing by staying silent and letting Jenna and Michael expose themselves? Or should I have confronted them the moment I caught them together? I'm really curious to hear what you would have done in my place. Drop your thoughts in the comments. And if you want more real-life stories like this one, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss a new video.